Hi there. Welcome to my review of Ayn Rand, the author of such books as this one, which I got halfway through. I read a little bit about her, and I read through like comment sections and talked to people, and so that's where I'm getting my information from. She's an author who lived from in the 1900s. She was born in Russia under a very communist regime, if you didn't know. And she moved to America, where she kind of got herself invested in the whole American dream and individualist paradise, which is pretty nice. So anyway, she's got some really interesting views. One of which, well, she calls like objectivism, and it's all about being like super self-serving and knowing what you need above all else. And maybe that's not what that philosophy is. Maybe that's a different thing she said, but I'm going to lump it in together because I am not an intellectual. I just read stuff sometimes. I have a bunch more of her books, not Atlas Shrugged, but just like a bunch of little books, including like We the Living, which looks really fun. She's a good author. I have to say, despite like English not being her first language, she's an enjoyable storyteller. She has fun vocabulary, and one glaring weakness is that despite writing stories like narratives with plot and romances and characters, all of the characters are the same in a way. They say different things, they have different viewpoints, but all those viewpoints are sort of said to support what she believes. Like she makes for example, the klutzy girl who doesn't know what she's doing, and she just puts it in a really weird way. No, maybe not that character. That's not a good example at all. Okay, here we go. So Peter Keating, who's marrying klutzy girl named Katie, um, he's like this very, very much a slave to society and what people think of him, and he does all that he can to be accepted because people care so much about me. And he gets super confused, and he gets angry, irrationally angry at the main character. I would say him and Peter Keating and this man named Rourke, who is on my shirt for some reason. It says Rourke there. I don't think it's related, but um, anyway, that's his name. And he's very much an industrialist, no nonsense, no anything really man who just kind of does his own thing. And if anybody tells him how he should be doing things, he doesn't take critique or criticism. He just does things because he knows what's right for him. And others will be drawn to that. And that's kind of hilarious that he puts, like, the book kind of portrays it that way because nobody comes to him. Nobody comes to him because they're all illusioned by society and they how society kind of expects you to look and act a certain way and do things in a certain order. So Rourke, the man without humor, he drops. Well, yeah, he kind of gets expelled from college at the very start of the book, and he starts trying to take on jobs as an architect. Fun thing about this book, it's about architecture, which I had no idea I would be so into, but it became really fun. It became like a really cool thing that I am really interested in now. She basically puts it as all those conventions and traditions of architecture, like putting Roman archways and Greek balustrades. What's a balustrade? I don't even know what a balustrade is. That's how weird architecture is. But anyway, all of these kind of old conventions, they're all just flavor pandering to other people to sort of try to prove to them that they are civilized and they know what's cool and hip and current. And Ayn Rand completely rejects that. She shuts it down with this main character, Rourke, who insists that the only purpose of a house is for you to live in it, for you to use that space as a human being who is basically like an animal with a need for convenient living space. So he designs really, really basic minimalist rooms that are like intertwined perfectly, so you can walk through one and end up in another. And it's a really neat sort of design system he has, but like nobody likes it except for the people who are not disillusioned by like society's wants. So people who don't have like a super strong ego, they hate him. I mean, no, they like him. They like his work because people who don't have a super strong ego aren't pandering to others, and they are sort of accepting their own desires. They're accepting their own desires, exactly. They're acting in their own selfish interest, which is what Ayn Rand is all about. She's all about that kind of thing. But then there's everyone else, the majority of people. And also, Ayn Rand's the kind of person to say, no, the majority of people in the world are not deserving of love, which, debatable. I would say prove it. How do you prove that? You don't. It's a very strong opinion that you can't prove. It's, what's that called? The word. Unfalsifiable. It's unfalsifiable. You can't prove it wrong, but you can't prove it right either. So it's like, come on. Sure, nobody's deserving of love except a few select people who don't have big egos. But everyone who does have big egos, anyway, they absolutely hate the houses he makes. Like, they hate all the houses that he does actually build and all the houses that he designs and doesn't end up building because nobody will take him on as an architect because everyone is super big on ego. So that's kind of Ayn Rand's worldview. That there's like two kinds of people. It's one of those classic, duality. So we have the first kind of person who's like, oh my gosh, I really, really, really love myself. And anyone who's coming along, if you can help me love myself more, well, you're welcome to join me. And then there's the other kind of person who is like, wow, I love what others think of me. Gosh. But anyway, it's a very like, what's that thing called? Binary way of thinking that Ayn Rand kind of poses. She doesn't have any room for like compromise. She's very uncompromising, which I think in a philosophy is very fun, very interesting, but it makes it kind of what's that called? The word that it makes all the people on one side super set in their side and the other side super set in their side. Anyway, that thing, that effect, which yeah, doesn't fly by a lot of people very well. So there's a lot of haters of Ayn Rand, and there's a lot of people who like her, and there's not a lot of people who have like a nuanced opinion of her, which I think I do. I think I do. I think she has half pretty cool stuff and half pretty stuff. I think you should like more people. It's not like that though. So I actually wrote down some fun stuff here that I'm going to share with you. So, other interesting views that I found were good that she had, which was kind of the that happiness comes from results created by any amount of effort. That's an easy one. It's in our like brain chemistry that whenever we do something and it has an effect on the world, it doesn't really matter if it's a positive effect. Well, it does mean it actually does matter if it's a positive effect, but really it's the doing of things and like seeing a result there that gives us this kind of sense of pride. And pride is absolutely lovely. And I have no idea why it's lumped in with a bunch of sins. I don't know why those are there either. I'm not super religious though, and I think we should separate the two kind of thoughts because there's a little dogma in one of them. No offense to religion, it's perfectly good. It's cool. I like that it brings people together. I like that it gives people like sort of a common ground to sort of discuss matters. But this is not the video for it. Today we're talking about Ayn Rand, and she doesn't believe in ghosts, or spirits, or religion, or magic, or love, or or determinism. That's right. A bit of a critique here with Ayn Rand is that she believes people have free will, like free will, like there aren't forces that are like acting upon you throughout your lifetime that make you act a certain way in certain scenarios. Like, it's kind of a psychological thing that I believe in. It's determinism. but she believes in free will. She believes in the power to kind of overtake what you're kind of programmed to do, I guess, and take the initiative and work for success until you are an entrepreneur and you're winning along with all the other people who are winning. And then you look down on everyone who hasn't won because they haven't used their free will, which is not a very nice way to look at it. She does not compromise with, a bit of determinism and a bit of free will. She kind of goes all out on the one way. That's just how she is. However, there is a big thing to be said about the illusion of free will, at least. We're going to be talking about free will, but we're going to be talking about it through the lens of yeah, it exists in our minds. So there's a lot of ways you can make your determinants, is what I'm going to call them. I don't know what the real word is, but your determinants kind of push you in a certain direction. So for some people, that's self-help books. A lot of people are really into those because they read them and then they start doing things. And when they do things, they have results, and those results turn into, well, pleasure in the head. You get your hits of those chemicals that make you happy, and that means it's a good thing. And that way, you're interesting to other people, because if you're not doing anything and if you're not making anything, like, it doesn't have to be art, but actually I wrote some down here. See, it still is kind of scripted. I don't know where it is though. Right, not just physical things, but emotional developments, philosophies, and even just experiences. Like, say you bring your friend out to a picnic and you have a nice time. That's bringing something to the world. You just brought someone a better day. That's something. It doesn't have to be art or writing or whatever. It can just be a contribution to other people, and that's fantastic. That's what makes people feel really good. That's what makes me feel really good. And well, some people, it doesn't make them feel really good because they feel inadequate at it, because they were raised in a way that makes them feel inadequate. It's tough. It's tough working around your determinants. But Ayn Rand believes free will can trump it. I believe additional determinants can trump it. Not trumpet, not a trumpet. You're not going to blow a trumpet. Uh, but anyway, point being, yes, philosophy. It's not for everyone, but it is. Do things, that's what humans are for. I wrote that. Thanks. Thanks, me. Lovely. Wow. Here we go. Experiencing and improving ourselves and others through our actions, and things through our learned ingenuity. So this is how Rourke sort of stands stalwart, and he's a very flat character. He doesn't change, at least until up to the midway point, and people around him do change. Like, Peter Keating keeps second-guessing himself. He gets more hatred against the protagonist, Rourke, but he kind of... I feel like he's going to change. He hasn't changed yet, but maybe he will, or maybe, what's her name? Ayn Rand's characters are so flat, and all of them are flat, and they don't have effects on each other. But I think that's ridiculous. She's a good storyteller. Although she has some really disturbing things. There's this there's a rape scene in this book where Rourke rapes the daughter of a very famous architect who's kind of posing as a famous architect. He doesn't really do the work himself. But anyway, she's super she's aromantic. Before aromantic was a word, she can't feel romantic attraction. But she can feel sexual attraction. But her kink is revenge fantasies and domination. And so Rourke, well, she kind of screws him over a little bit here and there, little bits, and then he comes into her room and rapes her, and she's like, wow, that was amazing. And then she goes and sees him again for some more, and this is framed as totally chill to do, which no, don't do that. So that's a big critique on Ayn Rand. I don't know if it was just for the book, but she really, really puts it in a way that makes it like sound like okay and like hot. I think that's her kink. I think Ayn Rand is really, really secretly super kinky, and she just has to like put out her frustration. She also has a view of women that is kind of like, hey, you know what women are for? They're for tending to the man after he comes home from a hard day of work and brings home that bacon, and she's there to bear children and do really good chores and housework. I think Ayn Rand was into some things that not all women are into. Gasp. Um, but then other ways, I think she does believe in like women working. I think because she has women doing jobs sometimes. Not well. I really don't know what Ayn Rand thinks about women. I really don't, but I'm guessing here, and it's a scary thought. I don't know why. Anyway, so that's that. Uh, next. Oh, so Rourke. He's this character who doesn't care what anybody thinks, right? And that's a big trait that Ayn Rand respects. She respects not following sheep, right? Not being other people or being someone you aren't. It's all about being yourself. But of course, I would argue that being yourself is shaped by all your determinants, and that's how you become who you are. Um, but still, whoever you are, you gotta show it. You don't want to hide it with all this like insecure, whatever, a mask to be like this old Renaissance painter, or be like your friend who's way cooler than you, so you like gel your hair like he does. I don't gel my hair. Why? Because friends don't gel each other's hair. No, I don't know. I just eh. um So, also, a big part of this is people are going to be drawn to you. You're not supposed to be expected to draw people in. So, it's more like putting bait into an ocean and having the fish come to it. And the bait is like your own recipe, right? It's not somebody else's recipe. As opposed to spearing fish and then slamming them onto your plate. And you have more fish because not all fish have the taste of your recipe and they like it. But societal norms are dumb. Okay, that's the point. That if you just be yourself, you're gonna get quality people who you actually like to be around. I love that. That's a fantastic message that Rand is putting here. That like not a lot of people follow through with. They tend to, try to emulate people and have people like go after people they think are interesting. Sometimes, not everyone's different. Everyone's different, and that's what Ayn Rand likes. She likes that individualist kind of thing. So see, she's not all bad. She has some good stuff, and then she has some questionable rape scenes, but that's not all. So where she's misunderstood or went wrong, rape being chill and secretly craved by women, societal funding doesn't benefit individuals or isn't in our self-interest. That one I just kind of heard in comment sections. I don't know how much Ayn Rand actually has to say about. I think she has a lot to say. I think in Atlas Shrugged, that's more about that book, but she has some things to say about like public funding and welfare programs and things like that. I look at them in like there are people who exploit the system, right? They take their welfare checks, so they take their income assistance, whatnot, and then they do not much with their time. They aren't productive with that money because they're surviving, of course. Um, but they have enough money just to like watch television, which I kind of feel that it prevents them from messing with my day. So it kind of keeps them out of the way, but I don't know how like human that is. It doesn't feel like a human way to go about things. I think there should be if people are on like income assistance, there should be like a rehabilitation kind of program set in as well. That would create like jobs for people and that would create like better people in general. You would have more interesting people. There wouldn't be all this like disillusionment with the world and society. Um, but right now they aren't really part of society. At least what I consider society. I have a definition of society here. Um, maybe it's controversial. I don't know. Uh, right. Also, another thing that she has wrong is the whole there are far fewer people deserving of love than there are deserving. And I said, prove it. This is an unfalsifiable claim, and you are a righteous bitch. um, so here we go. Okay, a real society, in my eyes, has people who create, right? And that's where they don't create just things, but they create like experiences and stuff like that. People in a society push themselves and others to make progress, and make something of their time. I have to look at this because I don't remember it all in my head, right? I'm human. It's up to their deterministic factors to say what those somethings are. So yeah, making stuff of your time, contributing to society, making it a better place for you, yourself, so that's your selfish interest, and others, which makes them happier, which is also your selfish interest. And that's how Ayn Rand's philosophy should work, where you help other people and that comes back. Because I stand by this one very, very core tenet that people teach you in elementary school. Treat others how you want to be treated, right? It's simple. It's very, very effective. And so maybe that's why I treat a lot of different people differently. I act differently around them because I kind of want them to kind of respond to it in a certain way and have this joy erupt. I like when people are happy because it makes me happy because I'm a selfish bastard. Like all of Ayn Rand's fellow gentlemen. She talks a lot about men, and I think she's a little obsessive about the idea of masculinity and toughness, but I won't let that detract from what I believe is good about her philosophy. Maybe that's a good part about her philosophy. Not my opinion, though. So also, right. I always believe that people and animals and animals are redeemable. They can be changed not to get in the way of others. So examples are bears. Bears that have been coming to human civilization way too often, raiding the garbage cans, bringing their grubby little fingers into the bear-proof lockers, and scratching up car hoods. We don't like them. Um, and some people are going, hey, kill the bears, but not a lot of people. Most people are like, okay, let's relocate them and teach them that human society is not to be messed with. You don't go here. You don't touch that. You don't mess with me, buddy. Buddy bear? No. We can do the same thing with people. We can have them rather than them coming into our lives and messing it up. We can take their internet. Wait. No, I meant rather than having people do not much with their time, we could take their internet away and watch them come up with clever things to do. I don't know, build a boardwalk or make linguine very well until they become the master chef of linguine, and everybody is drawn to them because they make such great linguine, and that's how capitalism is supposed to work. But you have all these super very unmotivated people who are living in it, who listen to podcasts like me, and they're not exactly making a huge difference in the world. I keep all my writing and my art and my everything to myself. And so this show, is it a show? It's a big way for me to kind of come out of my shell and show people what I have to offer, because I feel like I have quite a bit to offer. And speaking of writing, um, I'll probably be reading some of my stories. They're not all done, but I think it would be fun to kind of express that part of myself. And yeah, I don't think I have much else to say on Ayn Rand. I think that's, yeah, ditch the whole patriarchal rape fantasies, uh, and also ditch the mere thought of helping others as not being self-serving. If others are happy around me, I feel better about the world in general. I'm willing to contribute to global happiness and health because it makes my world a better place, right? I live here. So I think those parts are actually misunderstood by critics of Rand, and even fans of her. They like that, but they are misreading it, at least in my opinion. Maybe Rand is just a terrible person. I think she might be a terrible person, but there is, like, of course, the kernel of truth in there that can help a lot of people, and I like her lesson on morality and motivation and men. And so anyway, thank you for watching if you did. And if you didn't, well, why don't you rewind the video and watch it? Because you got all this way by skipping. You're taking a shortcut. Man, don't take a shortcut. Watch the whole thing. Do it. For me and for humanity.